Hi guys, welcome back to Lost in My Library. My name's Kate. Today I am starting a journey, an ambitious journey. I am deciding to throw my hat into the ring of FNAF theorizing. This is going to be a wild ride. If you don't know, okay, so FNAF is Five Nights at Freddy's, stands for Five Nights at Freddy's. It is originally an indie horror game. Now it's more mainstream. Not so much indie anymore. It has a whole studio behind it now. It's more triple A, which is exciting. New things are happening. But you may also know that there's a movie coming out, but what you may not know, besides the 8-9 games now that is in the FNAF universe, we also have, there's 12 books in the Fazbear Frights books. Then there's 3 or 4 books out now of the Tales of the People Pizza Plex. There's the 3 books in the original trilogy of novels, standard novels, and then there's the guidebooks. And not reading. Well, the lore book is, but it's not. It's different. It's different than what these books are. So we are starting a journey today. Today, we are only going with the first Fazbear Frights book, and that is Into the Pit. We're going to discuss the 3 books in this, or the 3 stories in this book, and then talk about the connections to the rest of the series, and talk about the implications for maybe what's happening with Security Breach, which, if you didn't know, is the most recent game in the Five Nights at Freddy's series. So, Five Nights at Freddy's series, the game series, is 1, 2, 3, 4, FNAF World, FNAF's sister location, and then we've got Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Simulator, Ultimate Customized, Help Wanted, Security Breach. There we go. I don't think I missed anybody. I think I got all of them. Not all of them are full-fledged games, but they're a lot of fun. I have actually not ever played a FNAF game. I just love watching people play FNAF, and I love the theorizing of FNAF, and that is what I'm here to do. Also, have not read the original trilogy of books, so I'm just kind of jumping into this and putting my 2 cents of what I know. I feel like I got the story as good as it's going to get on the games, because it's confusing. If you haven't tried it, when I tell people if they want to try and see FNAF then versus now, watch the second video, because the first video doesn't really explain the story of FNAF at all. Watch the second video of that Matt Pat ever did on FNAF, and then watch his most recent video on FNAF, and just see how different it is. It's wild how different from where it started to where it's now, and you're going to see that. But the basic premise of the first game was that these animatronics were going to try and kill you. You were a security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, and these animatronics that are haunted are trying to kill you. That's the beginning. And now we are talking about a consciousness that is a virus. He's starting a cult. He's controlling people to do all these things. We are teaming up with these haunted animatronics that were once killing us. So it's a lot. There's different consciousness, different spirits, letting spirits go, spirits coming back, spirits haunting the main villain of the series, who will not leave, and he will be spoken about quite a bit. Actually, hello! Speaking of the main villain, hello, that is him right there. Kind of. He's in this bunny suit. That is William Afton, and you will hear his name quite a bit. Now, if you know this book series, you know that there is an epilogue at the end of these books. I will be doing a whole separate video about the epilogue, explaining that story, because it's different pieces. It's going to make more sense if I just do that in one piece. Maybe I will do, I don't know, I didn't plan for it. So, let's talk about these 3 stories. They are called Into the Pit, which is what the book's named after, To Be Beautiful, and Count the Ways. I'm going to save the one that this is named after to the last, because I think there's a lot of implications. There's a lot going on in that story. I will also be using some of the graphic novel. This does not have Count the Ways. This has Into the Pit and To Be Beautiful as 2 of the stories. So, we'll be using a little bit of this just to kind of help visualize what's happening. Okay. We're going to start with Count the Ways. So, Count the Ways, we are following our main... I have a script. I never script things. I have a script now, which is insane. So, if you see me looking down, I have a script. I just don't want to miss anything and not explain something. So, we follow our main character, whose name is Millie Fitzsimmons. Shares the last name with a very popular ship. If you know, you know. I just thought that was a nice little... thing. I don't know. Millie is slightly obsessed with death. She loves Poe and Lovecraft and other classic horror authors. She's currently living with her grandfather because her parents have gone off to Saudi Arabia and doing a teaching thing over there. And she's struggling to make friends because she is not like the other girls. Very different. And she tends to be very judgmental, but she is a middle schooler who is trying to be different, wanting to be different. So she thinks anybody who doesn't look like her isn't going to be like her. It kind of happens. So she eventually does meet a guy. His name is Dylan. And realizes, after him getting a girlfriend, that she is pretty judgmental herself and hypocritical. Because she's thinking they're judging her for what she looks like. And then she's doing the same thing right back. Because he's describing that his girlfriend is not just a dumb blonde. She has interests. She's an interesting girl. Besides just being a pretty face. She decides that year that she isn't going to celebrate Christmas. And when her aunt, uncle, and cousins come over to celebrate Christmas, she leaves. She then is lured into a bear animatronic. It's only described as a bear animatronic. She hears a voice from what she assumes is the suit, talking about how it's going to kill her. And then talks about the different ways that he could kill her, including dehydration, starvation, being skewered, being electrocuted, boiling alive, and then finally decapitation. And describing each in very, very graphic. These stories can get kind of graphic. Detail. She does eventually find out why he is doing the way he is doing this. And it is on page 158. I bookmarked all these. Okay. Says, Millie was shivering, not from the cold, but from fear. I don't understand. Why do you want to kill me? Interesting you should ask, the voice said. There are a couple of reasons, actually. The first is quite simply that it's something to do. I sat in a salvage yard for years, ages before your grandpa found me and brought me here, where I've just been sitting too. I'm bored out of my skull. Not that I have a literal skull. But you know what I mean. And it says, are there other things you could find to do besides killing people? Millie asked. Whatever this being was, it was obviously intelligent. Maybe she could reason with it. None so interesting, and plus there's my second region, which is what death is what you want. You've been mooning around since you moved here, talking about how you want to die. Yeah. Well, I like to kill people, and you want to die. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Like those little birds that peck the parasites off of rhinoceroses. The bird gets to eat, and the rhinoceros gets rid of the itchy little bugs. We both get what we want. When. And then he goes on eventually and says, okay, this is towards the very end, actually, of the story. He says, Melissa Fitzsimmons, you are hereby sentenced to die for crimes of humanity. Wait, what does that mean? Crimes of humanity, Millie said. You, the voice said, have been rude and quick to anger. You have rushed to the judgment of others. You have insufficiently grateful to those who have shown you nothing but love and kindness. The voice was right. Different incidences of her own rudeness and ingratitude played in her head like scenes from a movie she didn't want to see. Guilty as charged, Millie said. But why are these crimes I have to die for? Those are crimes that everybody's guilty of from time to time. True, the voice said. That's why they're crimes of humanity. But if there's something all humans are guilty of, then why do I have to die from them? The voice didn't answer. Millie felt a small tingle of hope. Maybe she wouldn't have to take her chances by curling up on the floor of the cavity. Maybe she could talk herself out of this yet. Because the voice said, you're the one who crawled into my belly. Oh, this story in particular is so good. I think a short film, fan film, of that particular short story would be so good. But after this, she finds she is assumedly killed by decapitation, which is what she chose because it's fast and theoretically painless. And no one knows. Everybody is still celebrating Christmas. It's really sad. So, connections. The Funtime animatronics are big enough for a child to fit. We have all seen the blueprints if we've followed anybody who's followed the FNAF game. They are big enough for a child to fit. Also, Freddy in Security Breach is also big enough because our main character, Gregory, can fit into Freddy. The voice of this that I got a feeling of really reminded me of Bon Bon. If you don't know, the Funtime version of Freddy has a puppet of Bonnie, and he's called Bon Bon. And it sounds like Bon Bon. I was just imagining Bon Bon saying these things. So I think that's maybe the connection there. It fits because Funtime Freddy is big enough for a child to crawl into, and I think that might be the implication of that. Connection to that. Implications. It shows how Afton intended the Funtime animatronics to be used, I think. Because this is the first time we've really seen the inside of the animatronic. We've seen Baby and how she scoops. We've seen that. But we have not seen Funtime Freddy. And we haven't seen exactly what happens inside of them and what was meant to be. So I think this is trying to show how Afton meant to be doing all of this. So I think that's what this story is meant to be. It's pretty creepy. I think a fan film of this where it's like just dark, black, can't see anything, except maybe she does mention seeing eyes. So like every once in a while it just like pans up, sees eyes, glowing eyes. I think that would be super creepy. I think it'd be great. Anybody want to take that and run? Go with it. So we are now going to talk about To Be Beautiful. This is the second story. This is about our main character, Sarah, who is a another middle schooler. I think all of these are middle schoolers, actually. I'm fairly sure all of these. Middle schooler student who, like most girls that age, wants to change the way she looks. One day, as she's coming home, she comes across a doll that suspiciously looks like Baby. Let me pull up what she looks like. That's her. That is the doll and what she looks like. A certain animatronic. She turns it off, and Eleanor, who is the doll, tells Sarah that she will make her look beautiful if she wears a very specific necklace that she gives her. Every night, Eleanor sings Sarah to sleep, and Sarah starts to change to look more like what she wants to look like. And every once in a while, when she goes to sleep, she'll wake up in the middle of the night and see, hold on, it's kind of creepy. Actually, it's not kind of, it's very creepy. Not gonna lie. Let me find it. Yeah, oh, no, that's just her singing, which is also kind of creepy. Not gonna lie. She goes, every once in a while, she wakes up, and that's what she finds. Very creepy. So she becomes friends with what I call the Heathers. She calls them the Beautifuls. I'm a fan of the Heathers musical and Heathers movie, so I'm calling them the Heathers of the school. And even goes on a date with a guy she really likes. His name is Mason. One day at lunch, the necklace comes off. And when it does, she looks down at her legs. Her legs have turned to metal. Let me find that. It's kind of creepy and scary. So her legs turn to metal. She goes home and asks Eleanor what's going on. And Eleanor pushes a button on her matching necklace and becomes Sarah's old self. While Sarah becomes just a pile of metal. And Eleanor just runs off and takes over the persona of Sarah. So, I was actually recently watching a MatPat video kind of talking about this implication. So, Eleanor does this quite a bit, where she'll trick people and take their identity. I've got a theory about this. She does this all the time. It's called Remnant. I'm trying to think of what. It's a hallucination box kind of thing that makes her look like it. Look like human. That is created by William Afton. Baby is not a nice person. She is very much sided with William Afton. So, considering that she is the daughter of William Afton, but she is not the only child of William Afton. Connection in the game. Eleanor very much looks like Baby. She is basically Baby. Elizabeth, who is the name of William's daughter, who eventually becomes the spirit inside of Baby, is kind of close. The name's kind of close to Eleanor. This is also kind of similar to what happened to Michael at the end of Help Wanted. No, Sister Location. Sister Location, when Ennard came in and took over his body, as well, could explain that instead of going into him, he changes into him, and then eventually has to disappear because of the body. Because assuming that baby is taking the body parts of Sarah, Ennard could be doing the same thing with Michael. It's so weird. I'm so sorry. This is a very weird series. You're just gonna have to hang with me. It's just a very weird series. Implications. So, we can't really trust any character with this logic. That anything can happen. These could all just be people who are robots that look like people. We already know that there's a theory out there that Gregory is a robot. But, not going into that rabbit hole, we're going down a different one. Maybe, here's my theory. Here's a good theory. Maybe Vanny, y'all are going to have to hold on for me. There's two characters. Vanny, Vanessa. Vanny is a minion of William. He does what he wants. She is the main antagonist of Security Breach. There's Vanessa. Vanessa very much sounds like Vanny. May or may not be the same person as Vanny. This could be potentially a baby robot. Could potentially be Elizabeth Afton taking on a different look, taking on a different persona, took on the persona of Vanessa, but Vanessa isn't dead. Maybe tweaked it to make it look different. Maybe Vanessa still has like whatever was keeping Sarah from not falling apart. Maybe that's what's going on. Baby Vanny, who is maybe baby being Elizabeth Athen. I know there's a lot of theories about Vanessa being Elizabeth Athen anyways, but maybe Vanny specifically is Elizabeth Athen being baby who has taken on the persona of Vanessa and is doing all these heinous things. And Vanessa is just trying to do her job and save everybody. Because one of the endings shows two different Vannys at the end of Security Breach. So, there's that. There's my theory to throw out into the world. Now, I have a long thing to say about the first book. The first story, and that is Into the Pit. So this takes place in 1985. We have a very specific date for this. We follow our main character, who is Oswald. He goes to Joe's Pizza, which used to be a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So, he goes into Joe's Pizza because during the summer he has to either go to the library, goes to Joe's Pizza to get some food while his parents are working. So he one day decides to go into the pulpit of Joe's Pizza that is dusty and old. Probably nobody's got in there. He's probably got some kind of disease in there. Not gonna lie. He comes up out of the pulpit expecting to be in Joe's Pizza. He is transported to 1985, where it was Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. On stage, he sees Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. He meets some kids. Their names are Chip and Mike. Has the time of his life playing games and eating pizza at Freddy's. He first sees on his first trip the yellow rabbit, just passing by. No one seems to notice him though. He just puts it off. He thinks it's just an employee. We all know, though, the yellow rabbit is no good. So, on his second trip, he again sees the yellow rabbit, just standing in a corner, not moving. It's very weird. He went back to this time period several times, has a lot of fun with his friends, Chip and Mike. On his last trip, he shows up and it's chaos. Oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Later, Oswald asks his dad, specifically about the arcade, about Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. His dad says his dad has this to say. So he asked about if Jeff's pizza was something different as an arcade. And his dad says, yeah, it was. Dad's voice sounded strange, nervous maybe. He was quiet for a few seconds, then said, but it closed. Like everything else in this town, Oswald said. Pretty much, yeah, Dad said, pulling up to the library. Maybe it was Oswald's imagination, but it seemed like his dad was relieved to get to their destination. So he wouldn't have to answer any more of the questions. So something bad happened. We're about to find out. After this, Oswald once again goes into the pit, only to find the place in chaos. Freddy Fazbear is in chaos. He cannot find Chip or Mike, but he does find the yellow rabbit. So he goes through a door labeled private. Great idea. And Oswald, so the rabbit goes through the private door. Oswald follows, and he goes into a room labeled party room, and finds. Hold on to your horses, everyone, because this one's a doozy. What he finds. Once inside the room, it took Oswald a few seconds to register what he was actually seeing, and a few more seconds for his brain to process it. They were lined up against the wall, which was painted with images of the place's mascots, the grinning bear, the blue bunny, and the bird girl. Half a dozen kids, none of them older than Oswald, the lifeless bodies propped into sitting positions, their legs stretched out in front of them. Some of them had their eyes closed as if asleep. Others were open, frozen in an empty, doll-like stare. They were all wearing Freddy Fazbear's birthday party hats. Oswald couldn't tell how they died, but he knew the rabbit was responsible for it. For that the rabbit had wanted him to see his handiwork. Maybe the rabbit wanted Oswald to be his next victim, to join the others lined up against the wall with their unseeing eyes. So Oswald screams and runs, naturally, and the rabbit follows him. So he gets in the pit and comes back to Jeff's Pizza. When he comes back, his dad is waiting for him. But when he thinks he's in the clear, the yellow rabbit comes out of the pit, grabs his dad, and pulls him into the pit. The rabbit emerges, and everyone thinks he looks like his dad. But Oswald only sees the yellow rabbit. And so they go home, but the cat, Jinx, is spooked out by this guy. You always believe cats when they're always, like, spooked out by something, because they know. Eventually, he talks to a girl named Gabrielle. This is interesting. I'm coming back to it later. Talks to Gabrielle about being brave. He talks about Greek mythology, whatever. Oswald then goes back to Jeff's Pizza when it's close to closing and jumps into the pit to find his dad. He pulls his dad from the pit. His dad was unconscious. Then the yellow bunny shows up again. They fight. Oswald is then bit. Oswald eventually wins and gets his dad back to the present time. I can't describe what happens next. Because what happens to Yellow Bunny, because YouTube doesn't like it. But him and his dad leave. The end. Just imagine whatever you feel like happens to Bunny, and you're probably correct why YouTube doesn't like it. So we're just not going to mention it. Connections to the rest of FNAF. So obviously this was a description of one of the murder sprees done by William Afton in the Spring Bonnie costume, Spring Trap costume. This couldn't be the original one that's described in FNAF 1 just because that was only 5 kids, but if we are talking about maybe adding, no, still won't work. There's 6 kids, so this is probably a different spree from the one that's mentioned in the first book, the first game, the 5 missing children incidents that ended up haunting the animatronics in FNAF 1. Interestingly enough, we have Gabrielle. Now, the spirit who is known to haunt Freddy is a kid named Gabriel. Not Gabrielle, Gabriel. It's interesting that Gabrielle, a kid named Gabrielle, goes up to, or starts talking to Oswald about being brave, and that's what spurs on him going back and saving his dad, taking care of the yellow bunny for the moment. Very interesting. One of the 5 missing children. Very interesting. Maybe a connection there. Implications. So we see Afton use some kind of technology to look like Oswald's dad. Same thing, probably, that Baby was using to look like Sarah. This could be the same thing in the original trilogy. Charlie, and this is, if you have not read the original trilogy, this is going to go wild. Charlie is not a human, but is a robot. Her dad, Henry, who was business partners with William, built her at different stages. So we have like young Charlie, adult Charlie, and then a version of baby Charlie as an adult, that William Afton made. This is also maybe what Gregory uses if he is a robot. Not going into that mess today. We're not touching that. Gregory may or may not be a robot mess today. What this means is that Afton has access to the time-traveling ball pit. And that means that William Afton can theoretically show up anytime, anywhere, because he is a time-traveling ball pit. I'm sorry. He could show up anytime, anywhere. We don't really know how this is connected. We really don't know how the ball pit works. You just kind of pop in, pop out at different time. So really, he could show up, and he knows he has access to the time traveling ball pit. So that should be quite interesting. Scott Cawthon can use that as a way of bringing back William Afton, but William Afton always comes back. He always has a reason, means of coming back. Another thing, talking about security breach. I'm just throwing this out there, just throwing it out in the ether. This theory. What if Gregory isn't in the system of the Megaplex in Security Breach? Because he time traveled. Listen, where is... We know that there is a ball pit in the Megaplex. And where is Gregory's room that we see like someone's living there? Where is it? It's close to the ball pit. So maybe why they can't contact anybody for him. They can't contact anything because he's not originally from the time period of Security Breach. He's from the 1980s. He has access to that ball pit. He knows how to work that ball pit. Maybe, just maybe, he is the crying child. This is just a random throw it out there that maybe that the time-traveling ball pit has come to the games. That sounds so weird. That just sounds like... I'm ready for this DLC. I'm throwing it out to the ether. I don't really believe that it's the time-traveling ball pit. I'm sure there's something else going on with Gregory. Something weird's going on. But I don't necessarily believe. I just wanted to throw out a wild theory that I had when I was writing the script. And I was like, wait a second. I mean, anything can happen. If we can have a time-traveling ball pit here, it's out in the universe now that we have time-traveling ball pits. So, that has been the 3 stories. Just kind of a hint of, like, the epilogue of this story, this book. We hear whisperings of what is called the Stitch Wraith. The Stitch Wraith is a hooded creature. It has a weird looking face. They're not really sure what it is. And our detective is now on the case of the Stitch Wraith. Tune in next time when I finish the second book to give you a little bit more of an update of what's happening with the Stitch Wraith story. So that has been an explanation of Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights #1, Into the Pit. The next book, I believe, is Fetch. I believe that's #2. So, that will be the next one to be talked about. I thank you guys so much for watching. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Go be a good cabbage today. Do something kind for someone, even if that is for yourself, because self-care is important. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.